Hello, my name is Arthur. In the last video we got a button working so that we could add a tab, and we got the button working so that we can close the tab. Next in this video we're going to look at making the dialog to be able to open a file. So that's the next thing on the menu, so might as well be the next thing to do. So file open and file saving, that requires a dialog, and in GTK it's called the FileChooserDialog, so that's what we're going to make. So we're not actually going to do any I/O and open a file or read it into the buffer. We're just going to get the dialog to the point where it can call the function to open a file, and for now we'll just make that function confirm that it's receiving the file address. So that way we're not doing two functions at a time, we can just do the one function. So we need this function in place, which would be open file. So we'll make an open file dialog, or function I should say, and then we'll make the dialog to open a file. So it would receive a char pointer, and what it receives is the file address. Now, in the documentation for GTK, it uses the variable file name, but I think that file address is a better description. Then we'll also need the button command. So let's just do the function for the open dialog. So we'll create open file dialog. So we'll put that function in place, and that will be the function that would get called on when we press open. So we'll just use a little copy and paste here. So we'll just paste that in like that. We'll change this to open, and we'll call the open file dialog function. Okay, so in the open file dialog, we'll make the FileChooserDialog. Is that what it's called? Yeah, it's the GTK FileChooserDialog. So GTK widget. We'll call this one open dialog, so our function reads good and clear. We need an integer, which is the result, and then we'll make the dialog. So open dialog equals GTK file chooser dialog new. So the first thing that goes here is the title for the dialog window. So that would be open file. Just get this up here. Now, the next one, the documentation describes this as the transient parent, and I tried putting window in here, but it just complained at compile time. This value can be null, and that's the way that I've gotten it working, is just by putting null into this file, into this slot or argument. So the next thing is the action. That is GTK file chooser action open. So we're looking to open a file. The next thing is the names for the buttons. So the first button we'll call cancel. Then is the response to the button. GTK response cancel. Then the label for the second button, which is open. And the response for that button. Now, these responses, they're documented in the documentation. And this one is called accept. And we'll have to spell accept right. Oh, we're just going all over the place here. So if I actually understand what's going on, these are just enumerated values, which is the value that's going to get returned to the integer res or result. Result is just short for, or res is short for result. Now in this last one, I just put null, and I'm not really sure what this one is. And yeah, that's one where I'm not really sure, and if you're curious, best thing to be doing is to be looking at the documentation anyways. So now we call for the dialog to run, and it will have a return value, which is the result. And the way that I understand this is it's kind of like, acts like main in a GTK situation, where main just kind of waits. That's what it does. It doesn't really do much of anything. It waits, and it can respond, like we can have it respond to a keyboard or a timeout event to keep it working and doing something. But when we run this, it does pretty much the same thing. It's just going to wait, and what it's waiting for is one of the responses. So it'll wait for cancel or accept, and the result value will come from that. So here we're looking for the GTK response. And Oh, no, we're looking for the GTK dialog. GTK dialog. And that is called Open Dialog. So then we're going to look for the result. So we want to do a comparison of the result. So if res is equal to GTK response accept, GTK response accept, which means that we press the open button or we double click the file will also count as an accept response. So in here we're going to need a char. It is a pointer. We'll call it file address, just like we did up in the function. GTK file chooser, which we'll call chooser, equals GTK file chooser. Open dialog. We'll get this up somewhere a little more comfortable. So now we can assign the value that results. So file address is equal to GTK file chooser get file name. Oh, that's wrong. It's another time where I'm putting an underscore in where one doesn't belong. That's from chooser. Now we can call the open file function. So what did we call that? We just called it open file. Open file. We'll pass the file address. And then we'll free file address. Yeah, sometimes I'm not sure exactly why it is we're going free this, because it seems to me that it should be in this scope, but we do the same thing with error messages. It's what the documentation says, so I tend to just default to try not to think about it too much and do what the documentation says. So if we accept or if we cancel, the end result is that the FileChooserDialog should be destroyed. So now we just call FileChooser widget destroy, and we'll destroy open dialog. And that should actually get us working. So let's just read across here. Okay, so we want to be able to gprint let's see, a string, comma, file address. So that should print the file address. And we'll get around to open file after we have the dialog for also saving a file. The dialogs come first. That way we're not doing too many functions at once. We're really just doing the one function at a time and confirming that it works. And that keeps things in good bite-sized pieces. So let's check our semicolons and scan for typos. Know how much I like to do typos here. So that looks good. I guess, like always, I'll find out when I attempt to compile it. Of course, if I don't save it, it's just going to compile because oh, file chooser, oh, there's a typo. So where is that? File chooser action. It's right there. We'll save that. Is there anything else here? That looks like it, just the one typo. I think making videos is helping me to slim down on debugging. Okay, so we'll run that. We'll be looking for number one if we get the dialog, and we'll point it at a file and see if it prints out the file address. So we'll press the open button. Okay, we got a dialog. We'll press this open button to make sure they both work. We got a dialog. So let's just get where we can see the printout. We'll go to the desktop, open a different copy of main.c. It passed the address. So the dialog appears to work. Let's see if I can size that into the window here. So we have the open button and the cancel button. So we'll do it by open button. That worked. And we'll do it by cancel button. So let's just select something and cancel. Nothing printed. The window destroyed itself, and that all seems to be working. So in the next video we'll look at doing the save dialog window, and then I guess it's time to figure out the ability to read something into a file and to sort out the two different kinds of saves, because there's this kind of save where the tab is untitled, and then there's the kind of, which that would be save as, because it doesn't have a location, it's never been saved. And then there's being able to tell that it has a title and the widget has not been modified since its last save point, to know that it can simply save. And well, simply save can happen whether it was modified or not. It doesn't really matter. But save as needs to be able to tell. Yeah, I'll have to figure that out. I'm not sure that I have that all straight in my head yet. I haven't gotten that far. So that's it for this video. I hope that was helpful, and that's the script. That's what we got. So we have the addition here for the button, how to make the dialog, and how to pass the address to our open file. So we'll have to figure out this one, and before we do that, we'll put in the save file dialog as well, and get it able to print the file name and address as well, just to confirm that the dialog is working, and then we'll get into being able to open and save a file. So that's it. Take care till the next video.